guys, welcome back. So I hope you're ready for your history lesson. So if you remember last time when we had history, we talked about Celtic round houses. Okay, so because we had this in the video and we didn't talk about it much in class, what we're going to do today, I'm first going to remind you of some facts about the Celtic round houses. And then you should have also received a worksheet. So that worksheet looks a little bit like this, as in you're going to have on a piece of paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these boxes where you're going to make a map of Celtic roundhouse. Now this is not going to be a map where you're going to show what is left, what is right, what is up, what is down, but it's more like a brain map. So in each of these squares, you're going to draw or write some things that you remember about Celtic roundhouses, okay? So to begin, look, I have here my marker. Let me see what I remember. So I remember that Celtic roundhouses existed a very long time ago, and the people who lived in them were called the Celts, okay? So I'm going to write here, Celts, for example. Then what I also remember, of course, they were round, and I remember that they were very dark inside, and the reason for that is that they had no windows, yeah? So I'm going to write here dark, dark, comma, no windows. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so let's see what else we can remember about Celtic roundhouses, okay? So here I have this presentation, which I also showed you the last time. So we're just going to quickly go over it again. So we revise some facts about this type of homes. Okay, so remember, revising is going again through something that we learned before. So we in that way we make sure that we remember more. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, who were the Celts, whose name I wrote here? Well, Celts lived in a time period which is called the Iron Age, and it actually says here Iron Age. Okay, so what is typical of Iron Age? This is the time in history when people already discovered that they can make objects using metal. Okay, so in the age, people existed before they figured out that they can use metal, but instead of metal, then they used stone. This is the Stone Age. Then they figured out, I can melt metal and put it into any shape I want, and it becomes very strong and durable, so I can do whatever I want with it to make weapons, tools, and so on and so on. And this period in history we call the Iron Age. Now, during that period of Iron Age, the Celts lived in Britain and Ireland, yeah? But basically not only in Britain and Ireland, they came from over Europe and also lived from all over Europe, yeah? And here you can see what they look like, so you can see some of their typical clothes, you can use the coins that they had. These coins were, of course, made of metal, and you can see this with, I think it's a dagger, which is like longer than a knife, shorter than a sword. Again, the blade is made of metal, and this warrior lady here, she has a spear in her hand, also used as a type of weapon. Okay, so these people, the Celts, they lived in round houses. What does this mean? That the base of the house was shaped as a circle. It was round. They were made from wattle and daub, which is a mixture of straw, wood, and mud. Okay, so what we're going to do later on, I'm going to show you how you can make your own model. So this is why it's important now to focus on details of what is inside a Celtic roundhouse, okay? Because the more details you remember now, the model you're going to make later is going to be more similar to an original roundhouse, okay? So I'm just going to read a few things that it says here. There would be a fire in the middle of the house, which was one large room, and the smoke escaped from a small hole in the roof. So here there would be a hole. Yeah, there were no windows as they needed to keep the heat in. The roof was made from straw thatch. Houses were often built near each other on top of hills, which were called hill forts. This was for security and to help defend their territories. Okay, so I'm going to add here fire, one room, because the whole house would be just one room. Fire in the middle. Yeah, so the whole house would be just one room with the fire in the middle. So here you have a picture of an example of a Celtic roundhouse, okay? You can see the thatched roof and that the door is the only entrance. There are no windows. Okay, now you're taking a closer look at the at the roof. So the roof was made from straw with mat placed on top to keep the warmth in. Yeah. And now these are the walls. The walls of the house were made of wattle and daub. The daub was made of a mixture of clay, straw, and animal dung. And now this is a look inside a Celtic roundhouse, okay? So you can see that there were different decorations in bright colors. These specific decorations here are yellow and red. Yellow and red are very strong colors. And when we see something which is red or yellow, we react strongly on it because the colors are so intense and bright. So this is what they did, because remember, the houses were so dark because there was no windows. The only light came from the fire and from that one door they had. Yeah, so it was quite dark, and to make it look a bit more a bit prettier, they would put these decorations. Yeah, so the decorated wall helped to create a better appearance and make the houses a little lighter. Okay, now here you can see the fire in the center of the room. This fire provided warmth, light, and also the heat needed for cooking, as there were no cookers, stoves, ovens. At that time, none of that existed. Okay, so now we're taking a look at the roof. Okay, so you can see at the very top of the roof that there is like an opening. Okay, so the roof is not open, but there are just holes in the roof, and that's where the smoke from the fire in the middle went out. Yeah, so what do we have here? Here we have a loom. A loom is this big machine, a big contraption used to make fabric. Yeah, so fabric is what we use to make clothes. So everybody had to make their own clothes. There were no stores where you can go and buy. There was no internet. You cannot order online. If you wanted to have a new item of clothing, you had to make it, or somebody in your home, in your roundhouse, had to make it for you. And this was job usually done by women. Okay, so you can take a look now what it was like inside. Yeah, even when the door is open, so anything that would hang from the door here is removed. So all the light that can come from the door is already here. The light is the fire is on. Let's say the fire is burning, but still you can see it's quite dark. Yeah, so these places were pretty dark. Okay, so now that we remembered some details about Celtic roundhouses, we are going to try to put those details on our map. Okay, so I already did 3. Okay, one room, fire in the middle. It was dark, it had no windows. The people who lived in them were called the Celts. Okay, I'm gonna write here one door. Okay, and the last 2 I leave up to you. So what you're going to do, if you want, you can copy what I've written and you write it yourself, or if you want, you can complete the map in a different way, okay? So you can just copy 1 or 2 things that I wrote, and in the remaining fields, you can write something that you remember about Celtic roundhouses, or you can draw something from the house. Maybe you can draw the fire which was in the middle of the house. Maybe you can draw the house itself, the weapons they had, the tools they used, the decorations on their wall, whatever you would like. Now, what I would just like you to do is, once you do that, to keep that piece of paper with yourself, okay? Because I would like you to bring it to our next history lesson and show me how you completed this map, okay? Good. Now, the next step, what we're going to do today, we're going to try to build our own Celtic roundhouse. So, before we get working, I'm first going to show you a video, which I also sent to you. It's not very long, and it's going to show you step by step how you can build it. Okay, so you're of course going to start with the bottom part, and then add the roof, and then add insulation to both of those parts. So let's take a peek. So it says, my name is Cleo. Today I'm going to show you the basic build stages for an Iron Age roundhouse. Thank you, Cleo. So stage 1, you need to make a wall structure, okay? So I'm now going to show you as we go stage by stage which materials I'm going to use, okay? So I'm going to first use this piece of paper just to protect my table and keep it clean, okay? And for the wall structure, I'm not going to use wood. Instead, I have this construction paper. I cut it up. So it kind of looks like a wood construction, not really, but a little bit, okay? And later I'm going to make a round shape of it. So it's going to represent the wattle. So next where it says stage 2, roof support. So you would see in the beginning there would be one a large column or one long piece of wood, and all the other pieces would lean on it, but in the end you would remove, because this is where the fire would go. You see, it disappeared now. Okay, so now you're making a net for the roof. And then to finish the roof goes the straw to attach it. Now I don't have straw, but let me show you what I'm going to use, okay? So for the roof construction, I'm going to try to do it with these sticks, wooden sticks, okay? So we're going to see how that will work. Okay, I have these ones, so hopefully, let's see. When they come together, they're going to be like this. So in order to cover my Celtic roundhouse, I'm going to have to make my Celtic roundhouse much smaller. And then because I don't have any straw, I'm going to try, instead of straw, to use this yarn. Stage 5, wall finish, okay? So to finish my wall, after I put construction paper as the wattle, I'm going to use modeling clay, okay, to support the wall. And then the final stage in building the Celtic roundhouse is furnishing, yeah, putting the things that went beside. And it says, lovely, this would be a perfect home for a Celtic village. Chieftain. Okay, so the most important person in their village. So for this, I'm also going to make a fire out of modeling clay, and I'm going to paint it red. Okay, so that was the video which showed us how to make these things. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start making my own. Okay, I'm going to do a few steps here. I'm probably not going to finish everything. And then you can do the same way I'm doing, or you can use different materials. Okay, I'm going to play some music in the background. And this music that you're going to hear is music inspired by Celtic music, the music that the Celts actually made. Okay, so I have my base. I'm going to cut this up here and take some glue. So I can stick the two parts together. So now, because I'm not using the same materials as the Celts, I'm going to have to improvise a little bit. So what does this mean? That I won't be doing things in the same order as what you saw in the video. So what you saw in the video is that there's first this basic structure, and then comes the roof. But because I'm using paper, this paper is not going to be solid enough. So I'm going to go straight to putting modeling clay around it. Okay, so my structure can stand in one place. And then once I put the modeling clay, I'm going to cut out the space for a door. Okay, so let's see. Here's the clay. So you need to press it a little bit first to make it softer. Okay, so now imagine when the Celts made, so this daub would also cover the wooden construction, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to need quite a lot of clay for this. Uh-oh, it fell down. I'm going to use some more. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to make a long, let's call it a strip of modeling clay, and then put it around my construction paper. Let me just soften it a little bit. So of course you can use plasticine, you can use Play-Doh, or if you know how to make dough at home, you can make your own dough, or maybe your parents can help you make dough. You can even color the dough using food coloring, and then you can use that as your construction material for your Celtic roundhouse. So what we're trying to learn here is, you know, when we build one, we're going to remember better what they were like, yeah? So this is why we're trying to build one. Okay, so I have half of my wall here, more or less. The thing is that this modeling clay doesn't really stick to paper, or the paper doesn't stick to it. But what I'm going to do to fix that is, once the modeling clay gets a little bit drier, I'm going to use glue or my hot glue gun to stick the paper to the modeling clay. Now, if you're asking yourself, ooh, can I use hot glue gun? The answer is no. Even if you've seen your parents use it many times, even if you saw your teachers use it many times, you should never use the hot glue gun on your own, okay? Only when supervised by your parents. Supervised means that your parents are right by your side, they're watching every step that you're doing, and they say it's okay to use it. Okay, why? Because hot glue is, well, hot and it can hurt you. And the last thing we want right now is to get hurt. Okay, so I'm almost getting my wall done. This paper is definitely not sticking here, so I will have to use some glue later. But I think it's really fun to make things. We spent a lot of time reading and writing, doing math. So I think it's nice for a change to try and do some crafts or things where we need to make something using our own hands. Now, you know what? It just crossed my mind that if I wanted to make this longer and thinner, maybe I can use this. Let me see. Yeah, I can use this. Whoopala. Sorry guys, it fell down. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I'm going